Did I party? Yes. But did I black out every weekend? No. I never tried any other hard drugs. And I remember saying to myself, I think I would like it and I'll be on the street corner in a week if I try Coke or something like that. But alcohol was my thing. And I think I knew, though, that I remember saying I like to drink. I smoke cigarettes and caffeine and whatever. So I'm not going to even try cocaine. It scared me. You know, my dad's alcoholism went up and down throughout that period when his body started to fail with the diabetes, which is really hard on your body, and drinking does not help that. And then we were bringing him home like around 4 o'clock on a Monday. It was the night of the NCAA basketball championship. And he had called me and said, do you want to come home and watch the game with me? And I said, no, because I wanted to go out and party, right? So I didn't drive up. And then he got home at 4 in the afternoon and died by 3. And I think we kind of think he just waited to get home because it was barely 12 hours. I can remember being in the hospital and walking down the hallway and thinking, well, maybe I don't have an alcohol problem because it's not really bothering me right now. If you ask yourself if you might have an alcohol problem, you probably do. I just knew that they were never strong enough. It became that thing that helped me cope. I did used to say, though, I can't wait to get home so I can drink so I don't have to think. But I couldn't even tell you, to be honest, like what I didn't want to think about. We had closed the bar the night before, and then just, and I got up the next morning and I was going to drive somewhere to go to watch the Packer game on TV because it wasn't on TV. Ended up getting a DUI on the way. I can't say I was surprised. But on the other hand, when he put me in that cop car, and then he was like, well, you don't have to take the breathalyzer. And that kind of screwed me over as well. I should have. Well, I called work because I needed them to know where I was. So I was in St. Paul, was where the DUI was, but I lived in Minneapolis. When I did get out, I had to call a friend of mine who lived in Forest Lake, which is north of the cities, and she had to come get me. And I had no car because my car was towed. When I was general managing, I would be there during the day. And then I would just go home after that. But I did not drink on the job. And I don't remember getting fired. I don't remember there being like, we need to let you go. I honestly don't even remember. I was living off a 401k that I had. It was lightly snowing or snow. I just remember that there was snow. I flipped a car. Somebody called, obviously, because I didn't call. They took me to the hospital and they just checked me over and released me right away. I must have gone to court. And then I went for what was called Huber, which is like work release. Well, they put me on a bracelet after that. So I went to Huber, but I had a job, thank God. So I only had to spend the night, like 2 nights. But I'll never forget, it was humiliating because my mother had to bring me in to check in. So I was working at a restaurant in Green Bay, and so I had fines. I had set up with somebody to take money right out of my paycheck. But I don't want to worry about it. I don't want to mail it in. I don't want to do any of that. I just want you to take it out. So I had to tell my boss. So I sucked that up and I told my boss. And I said, I need you to set this up because I want to be responsible about this and I need it to be taken care of. In November, I'm at work one night and the cops come and arrest me. Come to find out later, they had been banging on my mom's door and scared the hell out of her. And apparently I had a warrant out for my arrest for not paying my fines. And I said, that's impossible because I'm looking at my paycheck, right, to see if these things are garnishment, because I set up a garnishment. I was living with my grandmother at the time because she was sick with cancer, so I was taking care of her. So I had to call her and say, I'm in jail. It was a Sunday night, so I had to spend the night and had video court the next day. The woman sheriff that was taking all my stuff and whatever, she's like, why are you here? Which is why I'm getting a garnishment. I'm like, I don't understand it. She's like, oh my God, can't you just pay it? You don't need to be here. Like, even she was nice to me, and that never happens. And then the judge even said, what are you doing? Get down to clerk of court. He's like, you need to go. You can go. I still had to spend a night in jail. They still scared the heck out of my mother. I had to call my grandmother. It wasn't my fault. And my boss was like, he's following me around. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Was it his fault? I don't know. Was the clerk of court? Doesn't matter, because the bottom line is that if I hadn't had the DUI, I wouldn't have that problem. It doesn't matter because we wouldn't be having this conversation, if I hadn't been drinking and driving. So sometimes I would be like, I wonder when my family is going to have an intervention. And they'd be like, oh, well, we're going to go over to so-and-so's house. And I'd be like, ooh, is this today? Like in my head. And then one day they caught me off guard, and it actually was. Everything that they were saying to me was true. So it was just on the table now. You don't know what other people are. You think you know what they're thinking, but you're not quite sure. Now everything's kind of on the table. It's really awkward then when you get out of treatment, stuff like that, when you start drinking again, of course, and everybody knows. So eventually I ended up moving in with, after my grandma passed away, then I moved in with some friends of mine, and they were both alcoholics, so that didn't work. I finally decided that I couldn't do that anymore, and I went to the homeless shelter. And I wanted a job. And so I actually got the job before I went to the homeless shelter, which was at a restaurant right across from Lambeau Field. So I had some sobriety time when I first started working this job at this restaurant that's kind of a landmark in Green Bay across from Lambeau Field. And I had saved while I had worked 2 jobs. I got up and worked a breakfast place. So I had to be there by 5 a.m. This other place being across from Lambeau Field, if there was a night game, I'd be there till 3 a.m. I went to cash my check one day, and the lady at the bank said, basically under her breath, she told me there was a lien on my account because I had borrowed money off of my 401k. And I thought I had done it right because I had had a financial advisor. So I thought he had taken care of everything that needed to be taken care of. So she's literally like, take your check and leave, take your check and leave. She's literally talking to me like that. Everything, all that cash, gone. I was left with that $600 and whatever dollars. I had met this guy. And I moved into his hotel room, and that was the beginning of the end. And he was an alcoholic too, right? So I knew what I was doing at the time, even though I couldn't admit it, but I was like, sweet. And we're living in this hotel room, so there's really nowhere to go. And this is where the real disconnect with my family came from, because I was too embarrassed, right? So even though my mother lived 10 miles away from me, I hardly ever saw her. I wouldn't answer phones, or he had his own money, I had my own money. Like, I'm riding a bike to work, and I'm getting, and then taking a bus, but I can't. There's no buses on the way home because it's a small town, so they don't have buses late at night. But I was doing what I had to do in order to at least have money. We had a fight the night before, and that was when my sister called me the next day and wanted to see me, and I had a big black eye. And I had already had to call in for work one other time because my mouth was all. And of course I didn't want to see her because of that. She's like, if you don't come out here, I'm calling the police right now. So I had to come out there, and then they saw that. They made me get in the car, and my stuff was still there. My friend Deanna from college found this place, I think, and they found ABT because it was recommended somewhere along the line. I did what I had to do, and I was open and willing to do it. Even when I was at a Better Today, and there were days where if I had to get in that van one more time, my hair was going to start on fire. I'm so sick of somebody telling me what to do and when to eat and when to shower and when to blah, 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 blah. But I remember when we were driving down Scottsdale Road, and I remember exactly where it was. And there was this lady, and I was looking out the window, and there was this lady walking her dog. And I was like, why? What am I doing here? Why don't I have a dog? Why am I not walking my dog at 7 a.m. in the morning and on my way to get coffee? Like, this is ridiculous. And then I realized, I knew this, but then I literally realized in my head that I only had myself to blame for sitting in that van. So either I'm going to figure out what I need to do, or I'm not. It's that simple. So I graduated from ABT, and my sister, I've been very lucky. My sister had some money, and that she worked very hard for. But she and her husband basically paid for my treatment. I got my job at ABTRS in September. A friend of mine called me, and he had seen me riding my bike, and either in the middle of a storm or I don't know, whatever. And so he gave me his car. And I had already gotten my driver's license back. I had jumped through those hoops. I had paid the fines I needed to pay, which, by the way, was way less than I thought it was going to be. It was like $112. Working at it Better Today, they have to have a certain licensure from the state in order. Not every counselor can just say, oh, sure, you're ready to go. And then the next thing I knew, my friend was calling me and asking me if I wanted his car. Oh my God, those are such miracles. This is what recovery brings us. And I guess this was a way of them being able to tell me that they trust me again in this kind of capacity, was that my brother-in-law's dad can no longer drive. I was able to give that car, the first one, to somebody that worked at a Better Today who was riding a bike. And she's like, oh my God, I can buy eggs again, she said. Because you can't buy eggs when you ride a bike to the grocery store. One of the main reasons for me that you work in recovery is because you get to see the life come back. You know, I've worked anywhere from the inpatient level and then all the way through, you know, inpatient to residential to outpatient to EIOP. And I have been able to see so many journeys. I just got to see somebody the other day who got 3 years. And I remember that person from, you know, working at the front desk and them coming in, and I've seen people get married, have babies, and, you know, things that they would never have been able to do. Just coming through here, I mean, it just gave me the tools that I needed to have, even though I might not have realized it at the time. I think about things a lot differently, you know, certainly. You know, with some of the stuff that was taught to me here, as well as meetings and sponsor, and talk a lot about living in gratitude as opposed to being grateful for things, because they're different. And people don't quite always understand, at least for me, it's different, you know, because if I'm always looking to what's, you know, you can be grateful. I'm grateful for the car. I'm grateful for the people that did that for me. Absolutely. You know, but living in gratitude is a state of being. And don't let anybody ever tell you that staying in treatment is easy and that's the easy way out, because it's not. Because every day it's a choice. Make good decisions. Keep your eyes open for opportunity, because that's how you're going to stay clean and sober. It's not about luck. You're one way or the other. Every decision you make brings you closer to one or the other. And I use that in my own brain all the time. Is this getting me? Which way is this moving me? So every decision I make, it moves you either a little bit closer over here or a little bit closer over here. And what does that look like for my life? You know what I mean? Would I love to get another dog for my doggie? Yes. Can I really afford the vet stuff? Right now, not so much. That even something as simple as that, you know, but living in gratitude is a state of being and being okay with who you are and where you're at.
Detox to Rehab wants to help as many people as possible and do it the right way. Please subscribe, comment, and like our channel. Thank you for watching.